Hey guys, this is the Working Man BURCHILL, and you're about to watch Loudmouth presents Off the Top Rope, uncensored, uncut, and raw. Enjoy.
In conjunction with specialized supplements.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages and denominations, if it seems like I'm distracted, it's because I'm looking for something. While I'm there, to my left, the man who is known as the Jim Cornette of professional wrestling in the United Kingdom. BURCHILL, how are you, sir?
Evening, sir. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you. Listen, before we begin, I need to mention it. You have got a brand new venture going on in the UK. Tell us a bit about it.
I have. So last January, obviously due to COVID, there was no wrestling,
Right.
and shows were very few and far between. And then whenever there was a show, it'd get taken down, and the government and the councils would get involved. So I needed to find a way of making a living, because obviously working in schools was very few and far between, and like my civilian job. So I came up with a company called Signature Moves.
Right.
Technically, the name was thought of by one of my best mates, Dan Standard, who designs all the logos and stuff like that. And what we do is we sell wrestling memorabilia and autographs, amongst numerous other things.
Right.
And we've just opened our first shop in Long Eaton, which is in the UK, and that was opened 2 Saturdays ago.
Right.
So at the moment, it's doing really well.
Excellent. Excellent. Now you do Facebook Lives. I don't want to call them Facebook Lives auctions, but they you do get certain pieces that you can bid on. In
Yeah,
terms
you're
of
right. Yeah,
sorry, in terms of pictures and autographs and things like that.
that's correct.
All right. At the moment, how many autograph pictures do you have in stock?
I would say maybe close to 350.
Right. And that ranges from old school wrestlers, NXT, AEW.
You name it, we've had it. I've got Vince McMahon's, I've got Stephanie McMahon's, I've got Hulk Hogan's, I've got Cody Rhodes, I've got everyone that you can possibly, even people like Killer Kowalski, Cowboy Bill Watts,
Nice.
Pampero Firpo, if you remember him.
Yeah.
So I've got hundreds just in the folders in the shop. And yeah, literally anyone in wrestling we can get.
Right. Right. What is the rarest one that you have in stock at the moment?
Ooh. Ah, man. God, that's a great question. Probably the Vince. I've got a Vince that's pretty rare to get. I have a Mae Young, which is worth quite a lot of money.
Wow. Okay. All right.
But there was a couple in, I want to say San Diego, and the guy was just a collector of autographs in general.
Yeah.
And she wrote him like this little note. You remember like little notes for people?
Yeah.
And at the bottom it just says something Mae Young. But then I've got like a full like paragraph that she's written along with the picture that he took of her as well back in the day. So that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
I have a signed Stu Hart check from Stampede Wrestling.
Wow. Okay. Is that sorry?
So the guy that sold it to me was the wrestler, and he never cashed the check because of the Stu Hart autograph.
Wow. Okay. All right. Now, is that written in Roman numerals on a stone tablet? Just asking. You never know.
Unfortunately not. If Stu Hart could write like that, that'd be great. But unfortunately,
Yeah,
can't.
no. Well, he could do everything else. So I'm surprised it wasn't done like that.
Oh, couldn't he just?
Yeah, and for everybody out there, I know it's difficult with the exchange rates and things like that, but just give everybody just where they can find signature moves, and if they want to join an auction one night to see what it's about and things like it, and maybe purchase. I know it's also a little bit difficult to get the stuff to South Africa, but where can the guys find you?
So if you guys go onto the Signature Moves Facebook page, so there's like a group, like a community,
Yeah,
and we post a lot of stuff on there, and then there's the actual Signature Moves page where every Thursday or Friday night of each week we go live with an auction. Normally we do 7 o'clock to about 9, and then I just talk a load of shit about wrestling and answer people's questions. And again, the moniker of the Jim Cornette of UK wrestling is, I don't know whether that's a great thing or not, but I'm very honest with my answers, and
yeah.
and I mean no disrespect to anyone that I mentioned, but as you've seen, Loudmouth, I'm very honest with the answers that I give. I don't beat around the bush, as we say.
Yeah. I've gotten into the habit to greet you. I don't know if you noticed that. I say, "Hey, Corny, how's it going?"
Yes, every message.
I don't
Every
know.
message.
I do not know if you're offended by it or anything like that. I just started doing it just as not as a rib, just as a just as
No,
a thing. So
I don't mind. You can call me that any day of the week. I'm a huge Jim Cornette mark.
Yeah.
I love his podcasts. I admire his honesty. I know that he's quite stuck in his ways because of the days when he was obviously in wrestling.
Yeah.
But I am so much like him. It's unreal, like the way he thinks about wrestling, how things should be, how things shouldn't be. And I can just sit and listen to him and think, you know what, I agree with that. There's no time, obviously, when I think, not too sure. But 99.9% of the time, I'm like, yeah, I understand why he said that.
Yeah.
So I don't take any offense.
All right. Okay. Now, speaking of people that you don't always agree with, Dave Meltzer. I know you have your opinions on Dave Meltzer. I want to address this because I addressed it last week on the show. And I'm going to read it out to you, and I really want to have your opinion on it because you're the one who actually wrote the tweet. Okay. I'll remind you. Just watching at Dark Side of the Ring, Meltzer says if Hulk wasn't with Vince and the WWF then, it wouldn't be as successful. I'm pretty sure WWE is successful not without him. I assumed it's not without him. At the time, yeah, he's a draw, but there are a lot of other talent in that era also.
Yeah.
Now,
well said. Whoever wrote that, well said.
Yeah. Now, my thing was, and I've spoken to a number of people about this as well, and I'll bring in their opinions. My opinion is the juggernaut there is not Hogan. The juggernaut is Vince.
Yeah.
Without Vince, Hogan would still be a Florida Championship wrestler.
Correct.
Generic white trunked, Terry the Boulder, no flash, generic villain. That's it.
All he had was a bit of Vince sprinkled on top to make him a star. Don't get me wrong. In the late 80s, 90s, yes, he was a draw because that's why they had the A, the B, and the C cards back in the days where they did house shows.
Yeah.
But if you look at the guys that were on those cards, Andre the Giant, Ultimate Warrior, the Bulldogs, Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Ravishing Rick Rude, you're telling me that they're not draws either?
Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No, it's only because everything was circulated around Hogan in that era.
Yeah. I had this discussion with Ananzi as well. Ananzi's take was the point where Hogan really became over, in his opinion, was WrestleMania 3 with Andre.
Correct.
I think it was a little bit earlier than that, because
Okay.
there's a clip floating around on Twitter somewhere. I need to find it, where they played Real American for the first time for Hogan, and Hogan came out with the red and yellow, and that place blew off. But people don't know that wasn't Hogan's song.
No.
That song belonged to Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda as the US Express. That was their song.
Yeah.
And the first time they associated that with Hogan, man, that the pop there. You want to talk about pops and things like that? It's one of the loudest I've ever heard. But it was at Madison Square Garden. It was an A card. He was wrestling the Iron Sheik. All of those little things were put together by Vince for Hogan.
Yeah, which made Hogan which ultimately made Hogan that draw.
Absolutely.
It was the as I was calling the Vinceisms.
Yeah.
He puts his little spin on things, you know. And I'm not saying that Hogan wasn't a draw, because that's contradicting myself. But I'm saying in that era, when you look at the guys that were in that era at the same time as Hogan, me personally, I'd prefer to see certain other wrestlers.
Yeah. Now,
You know what I mean?
in that, and this discussion has come up many, many times. Although Hogan, beg your pardon.
Hogan.
Yeah. We'll call him whatever we want to. He although he had the winged eagle and it was the belt, and that's not it far surpassed the 10 pounds of gold and all of that stuff in the 80s and things like that. But the title to have at that stage wasn't 10 pounds of gold. It wasn't the winged eagle. The title to have was the Intercontinental.
Correct.
Because the workers had the Intercontinental.
Right.
And they had
it was put in place to see if they could hold that title with prestige and class and honor. And if they thought that they could maybe push themselves more, that's when they get a title shot against whoever the champion was with the winning eagle belt.
But you look at the guys that held the Intercontinental Championship, the heels that held that championship. Any one of them could have held the title and have Hogan chase.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
In saying that, your top 5 Intercontinental champions.
Razor Ramon.
Okay.
For me, number 1.
Right. Okay.
Mr. Perfect.
Yeah.
Razor Perfect. Bret Hart.
Yeah.
When he won it. No, the bottom 2. If we're looking in that era, you got Razor Perfect, you got Shawn Michaels just after, who really, when he won it, kind of made it mean something.
Yeah.
Because he was such a commodity. He was a draw, you know. Other than that, I say British Bulldog. For me, those are like my 5, because they all, it was, you know, within a 10-year period from Hogan being there, but they all established themselves as singles champions by kind of doing their own thing with it. You know, the way they held the title. If you look at wrestlers now, the way they hold a championship title is completely different to how, I mean, you look at how, like, the NWA title's held. It's always held like this. Yeah. You know, a lot of the WWE guys hold it over the shoulder. You know, you get the odds, you know, the odd brawls that have it around their neck. You got Riddle, you know, it's just the way you present the title.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. And if you think about them, not one of those guys carried the title around their shoulder and things like this. They always wore it.
No, correct. Because it
wore
meant
the
something
title.
back then.
Yeah.
Do you? Who's your top 5?
All right. Savage.
Yeah.
Mr. Perfect.
Yeah.
Rowdy Papa.
Hero.
Ravishing Rick Rude.
Yes.
Razor Ramon.
Well, not far off then.
No, not at all. Not at all. The only thing I added different to yours was Papa and Ravishing Rick Rude, because I thought Papa did it differently, because at that point in time they hadn't learned of a tweener.
No.
And Papa was that in between guy who could be a face if you wanted to, he could be a heel if you wanted to, he could do everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Rowdy. Sorry, sir. Rowdy never needed the title to be over.
No, he didn't. And then Ravishing Rick Rude. Just that quintessential heat magnet.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he could just every time he used that fat sweat hogs thing, like it just sparked every single time. And he was a legitimate tough guy.
Yeah, he was.
Legitimate tough guy. But Brett tells a story. He always used to go drinking with Rude, because he knows if there was trouble, Rude's your guy.
It's kind of like when people used to go drinking with the Road Warriors.
Yeah. Although in saying that, when they started drinking, they actually didn't stop, and that's kind of not a good problem that you have.
No, not really.
There's a time where you got to stop drinking, and there's a time when you got to start wrestling, and the lines were very much blurred with those guys in the 80s.
Very much so.
Yeah. All right.
But before we go on to the next segment, a lot of wrestlers had some of their best matches when they were pissed.
Well, SummerSlam 92.
Hawk.
Yeah. SummerSlam 92 with...
He wrote the Harley Davidson drunk out of his face and still did the match.
I don't know how they do it. I mean, I could never do it.
I can't even walk straight when I'm drunk, let alone ride a Harley.
Yeah, exactly. I've got no problems. I've got problems walking in a straight line at the best of times. You don't need to add tequila into that mix, and that's my drink. That's my drink. Right, moving on to the next thing. I know this is a little bit outdated, but I want to mention it because SummerSlam just happened last night.
Survivor Series.
Survivor Series, beg your pardon. And it was the weirdest freaking show. The matches were out of sync. My goodness. But I want to talk about Charlotte and Becky. Not good things coming out of that, man.
No, unfortunately not. Obviously, people are your viewers will be aware of the 4 horsewomen.
Yeah.
So obviously Sasha Bailey, Becky, and Charlotte, and they were the original 4 horsewomen of kind of the NXT basic era.
Yeah.
And they were good friends. Her and Charlotte were, well, Becky and Charlotte. I'd say it like I know them. Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch were always good mates, but at some point something's happened, and realism has now kind of taken over, and heat has come into the feud.
Yeah.
And I think, and in part, I might be wrong, and your listeners can kind of call me out on it, but I think a lot of it stemmed from the Nia Jax incident on Raw a while ago, when we weren't sure whether it was Charlotte just being a dick, or Nia Jax not wanting to work or whatever. But I think a lot of it stemmed from that night, which is a shame. And I think last night a lot of things were, not sure.
I'd like to think that there is a place for both of them in WWE for various reasons. But it seems to me that this Becky Lynch, the man thing, and Charlotte the Queen thing has given them both a sense of entitlement.
Yeah.
Because Charlotte is really, really skillful in the ring.
Agreed.
Becky is excellent at the psychology in the
Yep.
ring. Maybe not the crispest worker, but definitely psychology-wise, she's got everything down.
Agreed.
So Becky can tell a good story. Charlotte can wrestle a burlap sack and give it 4.5 stars. I'm the best athlete. I'm the best wrestler. Somewhere in between there, ego has taken over Charlotte. I need to be number one all the time.
Yeah.
Becky is now put in a position where she can do no wrong in the eyes of the fans. I should be number one. You can't have two number ones.
I agree. You can't have two number ones, but when you have two women's titles, you kind of put yourself as a company in a position where you do. WWE have got only themselves to blame with this situation by having two titles or two women's championships. We've spoken about this numerous times. There needs to be one men's title, the Intercontinental, one women's, one tag, job done. There doesn't need to be 8,000 titles on each show. And obviously that's an exaggeration. The problem that the fans have with Charlotte is that obviously the backstage stuff that's been spoken about is that she's wanting out. She wants to go. Yeah. Obviously WWE have let go of Andrade, who's done nothing since joining AEW. Obviously they've released Ric Flair after the Dark Side of the Ring stories that came out. She's there by herself now. Yeah. She hasn't got that backup with Andrade or Flair. So I think the more she pisses off the bigwigs, I think the more susceptible fans are going to be to the point where she's going to move on. Yeah, and you're right. She is a phenomenal wrestler. She's one of the best female wrestler of the past 5-10 years. Yeah, yeah. You know me. I'm not the biggest. Not even a big fan of women's wrestling. Yeah, but, you know, you as a wrestler, you can appreciate her technical ability, and like you say, Becky Lynch can tell a story. That's great. But I think because WWE are very high on Seth, they're also very high on Becky, and she has that kind of, because if I can say it now, Seth's a dick. From what I hear, outside of wrestling, he's a real piece of work. Yeah, and it's a shame because back in the day when he was, Tyler Black and all that, he was actually really cool. But again, you're right. It's ego. Everything is about ego nowadays. And don't get me wrong, you need to have a form of ego in wrestling because you're by yourself, But there's having an ego, and then there's being a complete twat. Right. And that is where I think Charlotte's got to the point now where, and like you say, there can't be two number ones, but WWE have put themselves in that position. So how do they deal with that?
Right. The one thing that we mentioned here, and I think it's very important to mention it, the catalyst for both of these situations coming to a head is one person. And that's Nia Jax.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of this, and fans can call me out on it, I don't mind, a big part of this happening is Nia Jax.
Yeah.
Because Nia Jax shot on Becky Lynch. People say, oh no, it was an accident and things like that. I don't think so.
I don't think it was.
I don't think so.
No.
And then Charlotte's altercation with Nia Jax in the ring. It does not paint a good picture. Because the catalyst of this, of the two incidences happening, has now been released. So the problem...
sorry to cut you off though, but the other part was Charlotte took liberties on Nia because Nia hurt Rhea Ripley the previous week on Raw. And I don't think Charlotte took too kindly to that.
I don't think so either. Because if you can, I don't know if she's ready now, but give her another year, give her a good feud with Charlotte, and Rhea Ripley can take Charlotte's place. I'm that positive about the skill sets of Rhea Ripley that I'd put the Vince Met 3000 on it.
Yeah.
You know,
I think she needs to stick to one look before catapulting. She changes her image every 5 minutes, and it's too much. Change it now. Like, change it up when it gets, boring or blasé.
Yeah.
You've plateaued, shall we say?
Yeah.
I think she's changed her look too much too soon for me. Don't get me wrong. She's a good wrestler.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think she could be the next Charlotte Flair. But the way that she's booked at the moment makes me think that Vince is not that keen.
Right. Name 3 women in WWE at the moment who could potentially take Charlotte's place besides Rhea Ripley.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
Come on, I'm not making it easy for you, Corny. Come on.
No, I know, but you can't just compare Charlotte. Christ. Bailey has got to be one of them.
Yeah.
Bailey can wrestle.
Agreed.
Bailey is when she's in character, either she does the hugging or the Bailey stuff. She's very good on the mic. She can back things up. Bailey would be like my number 1 pick for that.
Yeah.
I would have gone with a Mercedes Martinez, but unfortunately she was released. I think she was a great wrestler. I don't know why they didn't use her. Just ridiculous. Santana Garrett, given the chance, would have been fantastic. Serena Deeb, obviously they're not in WWE, but those are the kind of like female wrestlers that I think, give them strap a rocket on their back. I tell you who's an outsider, WWE, Mandy Rose.
You reckon?
Outsider. So Bailey and Mandy Rose, and I don't really think there's another, not on that like upper echelon kind of like top tier, because Sasha Banks pisses me off. I think she's boring now. Bianca Belair bores me. I don't see anything in her. I was waiting to see what BFAB could do from Hit Road, but they got released.
Oh, that was that to me is a missed opportunity.
Agreed.
Oh, excellent.
We'll talk about that in a bit anyway.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Now I'm gonna throw a name at you, and you're not gonna agree with it now. But barring her getting released right now, which is a distinct possibility of fucking at any time.
Yeah.
Raquel Gonzalez.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think she's got all the tools in the trade. I do like Dakota Kai. Raquel Gonzalez. I'm gonna agree with you on this one, big man. I think that's a great shout.
Because they had on NXT 2.0, they had a match with Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai to set up war games for the ladies. And the way that they booked Raquel Gonzalez in that match, and the way Raquel Gonzalez booked, I don't know who was the agent on that match, but whoever was the agent on that match has the pulse on what Raquel Gonzalez can do, because she's over 6 foot, big girl, athletic. Okay, that green outfit that she was wearing, that was like this bright lime color. It looks like a color palette just went and threw up everywhere. It was irritated me. Put her in red and black, let her go. But give her Give her Norman Smiley and Serena Deeb and 6 months, and that chick will be. And I'm terribly sorry for those who are politically correct to use the word chick, but you give that woman some seasoning with a professional, and she's got it. She's got
She
it.
has.
Every time I watch her, I'm impressed with what she does.
I think the only thing that'll delay her progression is because she's been with Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
And obviously he's not with the company anymore. And Vince is one of these people who will hold things against them. You know, like obviously we saw what happened with all the, well, like I said, we'll talk about the releases in a bit.
Yeah.
But when partners go, their partner that's still with the company always suffers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't either, because this time next year, you could see Raquel Gonzalez versus Rhea Ripley main event any show at any time, and it'll be amazing.
Providing it's booked properly.
Booked properly.
Yeah.
Give it the spice there, Vincent. You know you want to.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it all depends on where it fits in. Where it fits in the storylines. How do they bring her up? How do they interact with her and Rhea Ripley? Where do they go from there? What's the story they're trying to tell?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows?
Now, the unfortunate part of this, 2021, the year of the release. It is a shame, because they have released some excellent talent, some talent that had such potential, and it's gone for one or other reason. But the problem I have with all of this, not to mention the fact that the WWE still got over 70 wrestlers on their books, is they've released all those people and they still have Q3, they released record profits for the company, and they've gone and released, what, 80 people this year?
Yeah, 80 wrestlers.
It smacks of the highest hypocrisy you have ever seen in your life.
Okay, I'm going to flip it on its head now for you. It's a business. It's a business.
Fair enough.
Right. If you have people that are surplus of requirements for whatever reason, and you are able to give them their notice, that is all that WWE have done.
Right.
If you've got people who are consistently injured, just if we put it in wrestling terminology, this sells. Okay, this right here sells. Not me, but this right here sells.
I get you.
You see, now if I'm not marketable, there is no point in putting me on TV.
Right.
No point. Whether I'm the best wrestler out there or the worst wrestler out there. If I don't sell this, I don't make WWE this.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
You look, now, don't get me wrong, because someone could go, oh, yeah, but the Fiend made record numbers and stuff. Yeah, he did. But the WWE buried the Fiend. You can't light a character on fire and burn to death and expect them to be the same when they come back. That should have been done in a few years' time, not a year and a half into the Fiend.
Yeah,
right.
I get you.
There's a lot, but then there's a lot of wrestlers that didn't even touch TV, and then and fair enough, because you're basically paying someone to train. If you've got no reason to bring them up, why have them?
Right.
Because they're not going to be any better than what you've got. I think it was unfair on Tegan Knox. After she blew both knees out, had surgery, got back to, I'd say 75%. I think it was shit that she got released. The rest of them you could see coming. It's just, for me, the Fiend was the shocker.
Yeah.
In regards to the character, but when you look at the backstory, you can kind of understand there's nothing more there. And it's going to piss your listeners and your viewers off. And again, these are just our opinions. We're not telling you that our opinion is the truth, and just because we say it doesn't mean say it's right.
Yeah.
But You look at the Ty Valkyrie got released. She was shocking as Frankie Monet. She was. I think her problem was she was very overweight for what she was when she was in Impact. She wasn't quick enough in the ring. She was sloppy. She got released. John Morrison was doing nothing. He was doing nothing. It was spraying water guns at people, not being funny. You're going to get released.
Yeah.
If that's the, and the weird thing is though, with our math, is that was the best they could come up for the guy with. That was the best creative they could give, was a water gun.
The problem there is some of these people are an innocent victim of circumstance.
Such as?
They weren't written properly. Hit Row.
I agree.
Hit Row, I believe out of all of them, the potential for Hit Row was through the roof. B-Fab had a great look. Top Dollar was a big guy who could move in the ring. Isaiah Swerve Scott, my goodness, that guy, just put him and Ricochet and Mustafa Ali in a triple threat match.
Correct.
25 minutes, and you say, guys, we're not going to tell you what to do. There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
The winner gets a shot at Damon Archer for the US title. There's 25 minutes. There's nowhere out. There's Armageddon. There's whatever it may be. Go and give us 25 minutes of the best that you got, and that would have been amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Why do you need to have 50 writers for one show?
The business side of things tells me, because it's a episodic or weekly episodic show, which means it's more of a soap than a wrestling show, they notoriously hire script writers and even writers that don't have any clue about wrestling. They hire writers. It's not wrestling as we knew it.
Yeah.
It's sports entertainment wrestling. And when you've got a company called World Wrestling Entertainment that don't like to use the word wrestling, I lose all patience, because I'm a wrestler. You're a wrestler. We like wrestling. We watch wrestling, which is why when you flip over the channel to AEW, regardless of how spotty it is, there's still wrestling, and they can call it wrestling.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the pull for AEW. With the Hit Row, you are absolutely spot on. Top Dollar never got a chance to work on the main show. Why is that? Why bring up the Hit Row if 3 weeks later you're going to get rid of all of them? It doesn't make sense. It almost says to me that Triple H has built all these wrestlers, and to make sure that he still knows where his place is, Vince will bring them up and then shit all over him.
Yeah, I get you.
Saying, look, I know what you've done in NXT, but now they're on my show, and I'm going to do with them what I want.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Karrion Kross.
I was just about to mention it. Now, Keith Lee had the couple problem, and Karrion Kross had the couple problem, because Scarlett can wrestle. Scarlett Bordeaux can wrestle, and wrestle well. Mia Yim could wrestle and wrestle. Yeah. They were badly written.
Of course they were.
Retribution was shit. Let's face it.
It was. There was no need for that. Dominik Dijakovic can wrestle.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Is it T-Bar and Mace now?
Yeah.
The big dude with the dreadlocks. Yeah, okay, he's all right, but he's Shane Thorne. Mustafa Ali was like the leader. Why?
Yeah.
Why? For 5 minutes later, they turned around and got rid of him because he couldn't decode something. What? This is wrestling.
Yeah, it smacks of the whole Brody Lee incident
Yeah,
because Luke Harper, Brody Lee, couldn't do a New York accent. He got stuck with yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's what made him good.
Yeah, but okay.
Yeah, I know
Brody
what you
Lee
mean. I know what you mean.
was Brody Lee is talented beyond.
Yeah, I agree.
They,
I know what you
we,
mean, though.
yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I wasn't being rude or anything.
No, 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 no,
But
no, no.
if you look at the tweets that a lot of wrestlers, put out now, and they're like, it's Wednesday, that means, I know, fans still go, yeah, yeah, yeah. Wrestlers still put it in their promo. In essence, that was a gift for him to use, and he used it
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
But you're right. The way they booked Luke Harper, when they put the Intercontinental title on him, and then 2 minutes later he loses it. What? Why? Why?
Yeah.
Do you think they diminished their titles by changing it too much? By changing hands?
I think they diminished their titles by not having extended title runs for mid card wrestlers who actually know how to wrestle.
I agree.
Because now you got Damien Archer, who's a good wrestler.
Yeah.
He's a decent hand. But when you have a decent hand as a wrestler who can get better, and you can see he can improve, he can get better. You don't put him with people that can make him better in the ring. And you don't give him 4 or 5 or 6 months to do it. You give him someone like Kofi or somebody like Randy. Not that Randy needs the Intercontinental or the US Championship, beg your pardon, but you put him with somebody experienced like that, and you let them work the circuit.
Yeah.
Just for 2 or 3 months, and that'll elevate him.
Yeah, it's a way of seeing what he can do.
Exactly, and they don't do that with mid-card titles, and that's a problem, because then 2 weeks time the guy can't get over because you've given him generic wrestler 1, generic wrestler 2, and all he's doing is 5-minute freaking squash jobs on these guys, and he's not showing them his growth potential.
What would you do? How would you book Damian Priest?
I would give him a 4-month run with Randy Orton. I would give him a 3-month run with Jeff Hardy, and I would give him 3 months with Matt Riddle and let him go.
Yeah.
That's how I would book him.
Yeah.
I'd give him strong opponents who can out-wrestle him and out-think him in the ring and have him grow as a wrestler. I am a thinker. This is how I get around it. Randy's going to have 3 or 4 matches where he's going to get over.
Yeah.
Not win, but he's going to get over. And when it comes to the rub, Damian Priest has now outthought Randy and wins.
Yeah.
Jeff is a high flyer, different to Randy. How's he going to compensate for that? Oh no, Jeff's done a swanton bomb and put him through the table. What is he going to do next? Well, now he's got to think. You see, you're not training guys. You're not training guys to grow and to think as professionals. You want boom, 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 boom. The guy doesn't get over in 2 weeks. What happens? You shovel him on to the next guy.
Yeah.
You know, it was great for me I think it was last week or the week before. Ricochet and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
That feud has got potential to grow. Now, Drew doesn't need the
finish.
With the Claymore.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
blew my mind.
Oh,
Blew my mind. But that is something that you can run.
Yeah, absolutely.
For 3 or 4 or 5 months. Drew doesn't need the Intercontinental Championship. Ricochet doesn't really need the Intercontinental Championship because he's an attraction by himself.
Yeah.
But you put them together, and the end game is them to get for them to get to Shinsuke. Now you're starting to put a plan together. Because Shinsuke at the moment is spinning his wheels.
I think he's lost in the shuffle.
Thank you. But now you give 2 guys like Drew and Ricochet something to work for, and they're going to make Shinsuke relevant again. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. I think that the Ricochet Drew thing has got legs.